Welcome! In this video, we're exploring why a positive attitude is important in the workplace. Hello, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins. I'm a positivity psychologist. Maybe you've never even heard of that. But I know the science behind why a positive attitude makes a huge difference in the workplace, and we're going to get into that today. So let's spend a few minutes talking about workplace culture, and then we'll get into productivity and leadership. They're all affected. Let's go. We've all experienced this. When we walk into a room and we feel the energy. You know, when somebody showed up with that attitude, that energy that affects everyone around them. And we've had the opposite experience too, where the energy, instead of being negative or dark or oppressive, is very uplifting and helpful to everyone around. I think even though we've all experienced this, we don't realize how fundamental that is to the natural laws of the universe. This really hit home for me when I saw a demonstration. And it was actually a musical demonstration. I remember there was a grand piano on the stage, and the speaker was trying to make a point about this very topic. The person sitting at the piano pressed the pedal that frees the strings up to vibrate. And the speaker took a tuning fork. I can't even remember what pitch it was tuned to, but you've maybe seen those little metal implements where you strike it on something and it starts to sing. And he took that tuning fork, and inside of the grand piano, if you can picture, it was all open, and he ran it along the top of the strings without touching them. And then he pulled it back, and the piano, they put a mic on the piano, and you could hear that the same string on the piano was singing that matched the pitch of that tuning fork. When I said that this is physics, this is a natural law, everything has energy. Everything. And sound is a really good example of this because we can measure the wavelength, the frequency of the pitch that's coming off of that tuning fork. And it's the same one that the string on the piano is attuned to. So the energy actually travels from the fork to the string, and it starts to vibrate the string at that same frequency. Now, the other strings ignore it because they're attuned to a different frequency. That's interesting. Make a mental note of that somewhere. What does the attitude of a person bring into the room? The energy that goes out from a person affects all of the other people in the room. That's why we're drawn to people who have a similar energy to what ours is. When we're feeling all depressed and bummed out, we don't want to hang around people who are bright and cheery. When we're bright and cheery, we don't want to hang around with people who are all depressed and sad. Whatever our attitude is generates an energy. So how does that affect the culture of a team? Whatever the predominant energies are, become the culture of that team. And people who enter that room are expected to tune down or tune up to whatever the prevailing culture is of that team. A lot of times when we're talking about attitude and mindset, it sounds like this soft, fluffy, woo-woo kind of science. This is based on solid psychological and even physical and metaphysical principles. Even things that can be demonstrated with a tuning fork and a piano. Another acknowledgement of the physical laws that drive our universe is this one. Default is down. Have you noticed that? A couple of years ago, my son took me hiking on a trail. Now, I say trail, but I'm using that term very loosely because it was really stairs, metal stairs. It was a staircase going up the sheer ridge of a volcano on the island of Oahu. It's called the Stairway to Heaven. And there are places on that trail that are so steep that those stairs are more like a ladder. I took some pictures while we were out on that hike. And even some of the pictures give me the heebie-jeebies because I'm a little afraid of heights. And looking back on it, I can't believe we were there. If we were to lose hold, which direction would we go? Right? You never hear of someone falling up. And when do you ever get up in the morning and think, I wonder if gravity's on today? Like it ever is not. Default is down. And you can see that clearly in my pictures of the stairway to heaven. But is that true in other parts of our life? What happens if you park your car on a hill and leave the brake off? What happens if you stop doing your workout or your diet, your fitness routine? What happens if you don't work on your marriage or your relationship with your teenager? Which direction does it go? You see it. Default is down. Productivity requires a higher energy frequency. Higher, not lower. Okay, default is down. And when we don't intentionally elevate the frequency, it naturally goes down. This is actually the second law of thermodynamics in Newtonian physics. It's called entropy. Everything progresses toward a more disorganized state. And the first law, which is inertia. The bodies at rest tend to stay at rest. Those in motion tend to stay in motion. We're dealing with physics. We're dealing with natural laws here. Elevation requires effort. Light requires power. You cut the power to this room, it gets darker every time. So no surprises when we realize that it's hard. If you want easy, just go do default. If you want higher productivity, if you want higher morale, that's going to require some work. Elevation requires effort. It doesn't take too much analytical power to go from there to, okay, what's it going to take to solve problems? Problems that your organization, your team gets paid to solve. Do you see how that's a higher level of energy? And this is why it's so important to look at the culture of our team that's affected by the attitude of everyone on it. This all starts with the leader. And I promised that we'd bring this back around to leadership and influence. We don't control the other humans. That bears repeating. We don't control the other humans. And because of that, the only chance that we have to affect a positive attitude among the members of our team lies in our influence, our ability to inspire their choice. Influence is something that I do full-day trainings for teams and leaders. And without getting into all the details of what that means here on this video, understand that you don't control the other humans. Influence is the only shot that you have. Your influence is primarily based in your frequency. Check your heart. Check your mind. As a leader, where is it? What is the frequency? What is the energy? Do you spend a lot of time and energy and mental resources thinking about all the ways your team is not doing it? Are you able to shift your focus to the positive things that are already happening there and then building on that for the upgrade? It's a subtle but a powerful shift. It's your attitude that inspires and signals success, productivity, profit. It's that energy that helps your people to stay motivated and engaged and moving forward toward that mutual upgrade. If you're ready to learn more about how positivity actually impacts your team, starting with your own mind, my gift to you is a free web class, the Power of Positivity web class. Go watch this video next, where I'll introduce that web class to you and let you know how you and your team can get involved in powering up your positivity.